my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica, and in today's video I am bringing you another episode of Makeup and Artists. I have always loved music, and so I thought it would be fun to pull my love for music onto my channel. So with these episodes I put an eye look together and I talked to you about one of my favorite musical artists. And this episode is about Sarah McLachlan, who I discovered when I was in college, but really fell in love with her music shortly after I graduated from college. Her sound and her look, her lyrics, her vibe, everything just really touches my heart and soul. I have listened to her songs and sobbed my eyes out. And I have listened to her songs and smiled and laughed and felt amazing. So she's kind of a dichotomous artist, I would say. Some of her music just really gets you right deep down where you live and brings you down to your knees. But then it also builds you back up again. So in terms of the eyeshadows I'll be using for this look today, I was thinking about Sarah and the fact that she's from Canada. And I thought, you know, I'm sure I have an eyeshadow palette or an eyeshadow in my collection that is Canadian. And I do. Cliona Cosmetics is a Canadian indie brand. So I will be using a shimmer, a single shimmer from Cliona, along with some mattes out of another palette, maybe two palettes. So let me start off with the mattes. I'm going to be using mattes from the Fruit Punch palette from You Can Be. And I also might use mattes from, hold on, let's open this up too. The Mint Candy palette from You Can Be. This one's darker, this one's a little lighter. I may not, I don't know. Definitely out of this palette for sure. I haven't used these a whole lot. I got these in some PR from Temu, but they're really nice. I mean, I've been very impressed with the mattes in these palettes. But now let me show you the single shimmer from Cliona that I'll be using. I have so much stuff here on my desk. I'm going to be using this one here, called Coat of Arms. It's very pinky purple greeny shifty. Cannot wait to use this. I'm so excited. So I think for the mattes, the tones of the mattes, I'm going to be sticking with like these here, right in here, the purple pinky stuff, and then popping that shimmer on the lid. Yes. And of course, chatting with you guys about Sarah McLachlan. And you know, of course, I can't give you all the information in the world about Sarah in this video, or it would be days long. So if you guys have anything that I don't bring up that you'd like to mention in the comment section about Sarah, please do. Let's share our love for Sarah McLachlan in the comment section. Okay, so I smoothed my eyeshadow primer out because it was getting a little creasy. And I'm going to start off by going into this shade right here, this kind of like periwinkle purpley blue, and putting that in my transition area. I will be doing both eyes on camera today. Yes, I will be. I don't usually do that, but I'm doing it today. Okay, so Sarah Ann McLachlan was born on January 28th, 1968 in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And actually, she was put up for adoption. Her birth mother put her up for adoption, I think at birth, and the McLachlan family adopted her and just absolutely loved and adored her. Now, she showed a musical interest very early in life, and at age 4, started playing the ukulele. She also studied classical guitar, piano, and voice at the Maritime Conservatory of Music. Now, at age 17, she was going to the Queen Elizabeth High School in Nova Scotia and was fronting a short-lived rock band by the name of October Game. And I had no idea that she did that. And at one of their first concerts, she was discovered by a musical producer with Network, which is a Canadian record label. And she was offered a contract. Now her parents, because she was only 17, they were like, we would prefer that you maybe finish high school and get a year of schooling under your belt. So she did graduate from high school, and she did go to the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design for a year before she moved to Vancouver, British Columbia to get involved in her contract with Network. So by the time she like fulfilled that, signing that contract. She was 19 years old. So 2 years had passed from the time she was initially discovered by Network to when she actually signed the contract with them. Now, around the same time, at age 19, apparently a mutual acquaintance connected Sarah with her biological mother. But apparently Sarah wasn't real excited about that. Like, she was pretty ambivalent. I don't really know any more details than that, other than she just was like, okay. Doesn't sound like she really had any desire to create any kind of real substantive relationship with her biological mother. From what I read, it sounds like she was, just very close with her adoptive parents and really considered them her parents. And so she didn't really need to have any kind of other relationship parent-wise in her life. I do like this color, but I do feel like the shade is pretty damn patchy. So I'm probably going to have to zhuzh it up a little bit with a couple of the other mattes. And I'm actually just going to kind of pat it on, like pat it, because the back and forth motions are like not really working for me right now. So I'm just going to kind of pat this onto my lid here. I like how that looks. It's not looking quite as patchy as it did at first. Okay, so now I'm going to go into this shade here, this more purple. This is more bluey purple. This is true purple, and put that in my outer V into my crease. So in 1987, when she was 19 and had moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, got her contract ready to go with Network, she released her first album, Touch. And that had a really popular, or the most popular single on it, which was Vox, V-O-X, which I don't know that I've heard that song. I'm going to have to do a deep dive, of course, into Sarah McLachlan again, because that's always what I do. Anytime I do these videos, I spend quite some time afterwards listening to the artist's music. And she was pretty popular right away in Canada. I mean, people really liked her there. And she did go on her first concert tour at that time as well. For that concert tour, she opened for a band called Grapes of Wrath. Are any of you familiar with Grapes of Wrath? I have no idea who that is, who that band encompassed, or who are the members of that band. I have no idea. Never heard of it before. In 1991, she released her second album titled Solace. And that album had the hits The Path of Thorns and Into the Fire. And those really broke into the mainstream Canadian music scene and radio. And this album also began her partnership with Pierre Marchand, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He produced, I think, all the rest of her albums, correct? Right? And then they also co-wrote some songs together. So that was like a match made in heaven. They just worked really well together. They were able to, get her albums out, write songs together. I don't know, it was a really good creative joining of forces for both of them, for sure. I like these two shades together. They look really nice, but I have that horrendous edge that I'm going to take off with a lighter shade. And I think I will go into this palette, this mint candy, obviously, and I think I'm gonna go into this shade right here. This, although, no, it's a matte. At first I thought it was a satin. It's not, it's a matte. In 1993, she released her next album, which was called Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, and that's when I started listening to her and really liked her a lot. I didn't love her at that point, but I really liked her a lot. And that album had the song Possession on it. Now that was the song that really kind of like broke through internationally. That really got her popular here in the United States and in other countries. I don't really know like why that hadn't happened before that song, because she was just as good before as she was then. But yeah, that was the song that really kind of catapulted her international success at that point. And not long after this album was released in 1994, she got sued by a man that was stalking her. And his name was, I don't know how to pronounce this. His first name was spelled U-W-E. And his last name, I believe, is pronounced Vandre. And he was just this obsessed fan from Ottawa, Canada, who made this bizarre lawsuit against her, saying that the song Possession was actually based on his obsession with her, and that like the lyrics of the song were actually stolen from letters, these obsessed letters that he'd written to her. And of course there were like legal proceedings because, you know, he filed a formal lawsuit against her, and her legal team was freaking out because they were like, okay, we have to put her in court with this guy, but they didn't want her anywhere near him. And of course she didn't want to be anywhere near him either because he'd been stalking her, and it sounds like threatening her, and it was very bizarre. But actually before the trial could even take place, he ended up taking his own life. If you've never heard the song Possession, I'm going to link that in my description box. I'll link a ton of her songs in the description box, as I do every time I do these videos. The lyrics to that song and the sound, it's just so good, so good. And you know, like I mentioned, that was when I first really like heard her and was like, okay, she's a badass, I really like her. But then in 1997, she released the album Surfacing, which is her best-selling album to date. Now, that was the album that absolutely blew my socks off and shot him across the state of Oregon. Okay. I just absolutely love that. I remember hearing the first song I heard from that album was Building a Mystery, and that was on the radio. And then of course I saw the video on MTV. But then like Sweet Surrender and Adia and Angel came out. Now Angel was a song that was on the City of Angels soundtrack, and the lyrics are really dark, really dark. It's about addiction. It's about, anyway, it's just a very dark song. I just loved it though. And I thought it was one of the most beautiful, heart-wrenching, moving songs I'd ever heard. So, my daughter was born in 1999. Okay. So it's 2 years after this album was released, and I'm still listening to it constantly. Right. Well, I used to sing the song Angel to Sydney to get her to go to sleep. And it's a really like song. And I can remember the couple that lived across the street from me when Sydney was a baby. They had a little boy that was just a couple months younger than Sydney. And, you know, like when Sydney would go to bed, I'm going to go back into this shade now. When Sydney would go to bed at night, I would take her into her room and rock her and sing Angel to her. And my sound little intercom thing, you know, how you can listen to a baby, make sure they're, you know, if they cry, you can hear them, that sort of thing. Are somehow synced up to each other. So she could hear me singing this to Sydney. And so she would rock him to sleep to me singing Angel to Sydney. I don't know, so crazy. But all of the songs on that album are just incredible. There's a song on that album called I Love You that reminds me of my mother. And I listen to it every so often because it just makes me sob. Like if you need a good cry, okay, you just put on that album and it'll come right to you. You'll have a nice, good old cry. I'm telling you. Oh, geez. Yeah, the song I Love You really touches me deeply. It really reminds me of my mom. Now, this album, like I said, was her most successful album to date, but it also earned her some awards here. So in 1998, it earned her 2 Grammy Awards, one for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance for the song Building a Mystery, which is so good, and then a Grammy for Best Pop Instrumental Performance for Last Dance. That's another song that's on the album Surfacing. It also won her 4 Juno Awards, including Album of the Year, Song of the Year, and Songwriter of the Year for Building a Mystery. It reached #1 on the Canadian Albums chart and #2 on the US Billboard 200, and it sold over 16 million copies worldwide. And like I mentioned, Angel, the song I would sing to my infant, was super popular. and was on the City of Angels soundtrack, which reached #1 on the Billboard 200. And then the song Full of Grace, that's also on the album Surfacing, that was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think season 2, is that right? It was also featured on the show Dawson's Creek and also in the movie Mall Flanders. So really cool. In the same year that that album was released, 1997, she married Ashwin Sood in Jamaica. And in 2001, she became pregnant with her first child, India, which was a bittersweet time for her, that time of her life, because her mother was also diagnosed with cancer the same year that she became pregnant with her oldest child, India. Okay, I think I'm good with the mattes for now. I like how that looks. That's really pretty. So now I'm going to go into, where is it? That's not it. The shade here. Yes. No, that's Shard. Hold on. Oh, whoops, I took it out. Duh. This one right here called Coat of Arms, and put that across the lid, or, you know, this open spot right here. And then she also had another daughter named Tasia, I believe is how you pronounce her name, in 2007. Sadly, she and Sood divorced in 2008. And I don't know anything about that divorce. Why that happened, nothing. Oh, this is absolutely stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh my God, I love it. Oh, I love it. And it melds so well with the mattes that I chose. Wow, I wasn't sure how that was going to come together, and it's beautiful. Now, also in 1997, she launched the very popular all-female concert tour, Lilith Fair. Now, I never went to Lilith Fair, and I could just kick myself for that, because I could have, you know, I could have figured out where it was around me and gone to it. I'm sure I could have, but I just didn't do that. Dumb. Now, the reason why she started Lilith Fair was because there was a lot of the female artists at that time felt a lot of frustration that there weren't any dedicated female touring options. You know, like most of the female artists were opening for male artists or groups, and they were just tired of it. So she just thought, you know what, let's do this. Now, let me give you some statistics about Lilith Fair. The very first year, in 1997, it made $16 million gross, making it the top grossing touring festival. And among all the concert tours that year, it was the 16th highest grossing. Over its 3-year history, it brought together over 2 million people and raised more than $7 million for charities. That was a huge part of Lilith Fair too, is that a lot of the proceeds went to charities. And it was the most successful all-female touring festival in history. Now, in 1999, she released the live album Mirror Ball, which included a live version of the song I Will Remember You. That's another song that always reminds me of my mom. Such a beautiful song. And, you know, I haven't really mentioned this until now. Her voice is unforgettable. It is a voice that once you hear it, you will never forget the sound and the tone and the richness of it and the lightness of it. And I mean, she can be very soft and then just belt it out right in your face, you know? She's just, oh, she's so amazing. Love the song I Will Remember You. So amazing. Oh my gosh. Now, that album was super successful on the US charts, and she won another Grammy for that. And then that same year, 1999, she also recorded When Somebody Loved Me. I can barely talk about that song without getting emotional, which is the song that's in Toy Story 2. The song, I think it's Jessie's song, right? The cowgirl that Woody is buddies with. Oh my gosh, it's so moving and so just gut-wrenching, that song. I have never been able to watch Toy Story 2 and hear that song in that movie and not cry. I've never done it. I don't have the ability to not cry when I hear that song. And again, just her voice is just so moving and so beautiful. So beautiful. This shimmer shade is absolutely stunning. It's got that beautiful like bluey purple to like that grape juice purple, you know, it's so beautiful. I really like the mats I put together with this too. I love it. I'm going to go back into the shade here and just put a little bit more in the outer V. Now she did take a few years off to parent her daughters, but in 2003 she came back with another album called Afterglow, and that had the singles Fallen, which is one of my favorite songs of hers, Stupid, and World on Fire. Now, this was a bit of a struggle for her because, you know, like I mentioned, she took a break to take care of her children, and she just had a tough time like breaking back into the mainstream. Like people almost like punished her for it. It was just bizarre. Like her album sales just weren't as, I don't know, incredible as the Surfacing album sales. Although the album itself was like a critical and commercial success, you know, but I don't know. She just had a lot of like negativity kind of thrown back at her because she had taken time off to take care of her daughters. It's like, of course, you know. Geez, you gotta give your fan base what they want all the time or people are gonna be nasty to you. You know, it's just really ridiculous. But, you know, I think eventually people kind of mellowed out. And that album actually did pretty well. Very, very well, actually. It ended up debuting at #2 in the United States and topped the Canadian charts. And it went 5 times platinum in Canada and 2 times platinum in the United States. So, you know, people eventually got over their ridiculousness, and that album was, like I said, a success for sure. Now in 2006 she released a Christmas album called Winter Song. She did a mix of like classical Christmas songs and then also some more contemporary Christmas music as well, and that is a very beautiful album. It is beautiful. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. So good. Oh, another thing too is I'm pretty sure on Afterglow is the song Blackbird. She like redid the Beatles version of Blackbird. Oh God, if you've never heard that, you got to listen to it. It is so freaking good. But let me get back to the Christmas album. That was another very successful album in both the United States and Canada. And also in 2006, she re-released Mirror Ball, the live album. It was called Mirror Ball, The Complete Concert, and it contained 2 discs that were compiled from 2 concerts performed on consecutive nights at the Rose Garden Arena in Portland, Oregon. Yes. Now, by that point, I was, you know, the mother of 2 children, and my life totally revolved around those 2 children. But the fact that she was in Portland and I didn't go see her in 2006, I'm like kicking myself for that. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. But like I said, you know, my life was very much consumed with motherhood. So, and I could just see myself, you know, getting tickets to go to the concert, going to the concert, and then feeling guilty the entire time that I went to the concert. So it's probably a good thing I didn't go. Anyway, in 2014, she released the album Shine On, inspired by the passing of her father. She went on a US and Canadian tour, and this was another very successful album and tour. I'm trying to think, do I know any songs from the album Shine On? I can't think of any. I wish I could say, oh yeah, I know all the songs from that album, but I don't know. I don't remember any of the songs from that particular album. And then in 2016, she released her second Christmas album, Wonderland, which I think I got that. Do I have that album? I'm pretty sure I have that album. I'm positive. Or actually, I think I might have gotten that album for my daughter. Or I don't know. Maybe I got it for both of us. I'm not sure. And then at the end of this year, this may have already started, she is going on a 30-city tour celebrating the anniversary of the release of the Fumbling Towards Ecstasy album, which is, God, that's such a good album. So good. And I have Surfacing, I think in my car, actually. Pretty positive I have that in my car. And then I do have Fumbling Towards Ecstasy in a CD case that I'm pretty sure my daughter has. I got to get that back from her. I keep saying that, and then I never get it back from her. And I've seen her multiple times since I remembered she had it, and I still keep forgetting to get it back from her. I got to get that back. It's such a great, got so many great CDs in it. Okay, I think I am pretty much done with this look. I have a ton of fallout and kind of need to finesse this a little bit more, but I think it turned out beautifully. I really love it. So what I'll do, of course, is go off camera, do the rest of my stuff, and I will come back. So this, of course, is my finished look, and I love how this look turned out. I think it's gorgeous, and I hope anyway, that I did Sarah McLachlan proud with this makeup look. She might have a totally different assessment and beg to differ with me on this, but I do like it. And of course, I'm going to show you everything I have on my face, review the eyeshadows with you, and then I'm going to express again my undying love and devotion for the one, the only Sarah McLachlan. Okay, so on my face, I'm still using the same exact base trio, these two and this, okay? And if you're new here, just know that like I've used those a ton. Okay, a ton. For my bronzer, I use the LYS No Limits bronzer in Motivate. Loving this. It's in my panning project. I love it. For my blush, I used a shade out of the, a shade out of the Blame It on the Blush palette from Mama Mitchell. I used this shade right here called Night and Right and topped it with For the Lovers. I really like that combination. For my highlighter and also in my inner corners, I used the Scooby-Doo highlighter from Glam Light, that Gel Beauty 87 Grace, so generously gifted to me. I use this shade right here. It looks yellow from your vantage point. From mine, it's pink, kind of a pinky shade. Love it in my inner corners and on my face. It's so beautiful. This is also in my panning project. For my upper lid liner, I use the Wet n Wild waterproof, or Wet n Wild breakup proof, waterproof felt tip liner in black. For my mascara, I use the Maybelline Sky High. I love it. And then on my lips, I used a combination of two things. I used the Dragon Renee Punk Style liquid lipstick that I got in some PR from Temu, topped it with the gloss, the Willy Wonka gloss from Makeup Revolution. This feels a little sticky right now. I just wanted it to look glossy, and now I'm like, did I really want it to look glossy? I don't know. Anyway, okay, so now let's talk about the eyeshadow palettes first, and then I'll talk about the Cleona Shimmer. So really enjoyed using the Fruit Candy palette, or Fruit Punch palette, sorry. These two shades are on my lower lash lines. At first I thought this one was kind of patchy, of course, as I was applying it, but then adding this kind of took the patchiness away, or maybe it wasn't patchy, I don't know. But I mean, these aren't like jaw-dropping mattes, okay? But they work really well, and they're nice, they do. They blend and they apply, and you know. And then this shade right here as a blending outy shade was wonderful, worked really well. Really liked how the mattes performed. At first I was like, and then they got better, I felt like. And then the shimmer shade, which is it this one? Yes, Coat of Arms. I put it back in the thing and then couldn't remember which one I used. So fun being 50. I love this. God, this is beautiful. I love the shades I picked up from Cleona. Thank you to Andy. Andy Does Stuff, my Andy girl, for gifting me the gift card so I could try this brand because I'm such a cheapskate. And, you know, the reason why I want to do a 1 year no buy is to really delve into the shadows that I have in my collection already. Because I'm like, oh, I want to get more. I want to get more of these. Why? You have 7 in here that you haven't used nearly enough. So quit screwing around. I had a blast putting this look together and talking about Sarah McLachlan. Like I mentioned, I'm going to list a ton of her songs in the description box. There's tons of songs I didn't even talk about in this video that I love of hers. But my favorite album of hers is Surfacing. All the songs on that album are so good, so good. Like her lyrical ability, her tone, her sound, the fact that she can get real soft and then just belt it out. I don't know, her songs have really helped me through various parts of my life. I still really enjoy listening to her music. And I don't know, I just remember being, like initially when I first heard her, being so moved by her, you know, and that's lasted throughout my life. Just really have so many memories of her music being very, like the backdrop of what was happening in my life at that time. And so, yeah, she will always be very special in my heart. and I just adore her. And if you guys have seen her in concert or you have any memories of her music or anything like that, let's share the love for Sarah McLachlan in the comment section. I would absolutely love to do that with you. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. I would love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I cannot wait to see you guys again in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself. Be well, safe, happy, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Drop it.